Welcome to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast, where we explore root cause medicine, engage in conversation with functional and integrative medicine experts, and build community with like-minded health seekers. I'm your host, Amber Warren. Let's dig deeper. Welcome back. We're here for part 2 of our precision age reversal, all things Dr. Holthouse's area of expertise and new love. Here again with Dr. Mark Holthouse. Dr. Mark Holthouse is the Chief Medical Officer for FMI Center for Optimal Health and Functional Medicine of Idaho. He graduated from Loma Linda University School of Medicine and went on to obtain his family practice training at UC Davis Medical Center while in the Air Force Scholarship Program at David Grant Medical Center, Travis AFB. Dr. H has over 32 years of family practice experience and brings years of practice in the areas of functional and integrative medicine. As part of the Institute for Functional Medicine teaching faculty, he has educated thousands of practitioners in hormone health across the nation in the past 10 years. As an assistant professor of medicine on the teaching faculty at Loma Linda University School of Medicine, he is an expert on cardiometabolic disease prevention, reversing type 2 diabetes, heart disease, high cholesterol, obesity, and metabolic syndrome. In addition to his clinical and teaching experience, he has 30 years of owning his own practice as acting medical director, implementing strategic models in clinical practice and the business of functional medicine. Dr. Holthouse and his wife, Tammy, enjoy photography, snowshoeing, skiing, sailing, hiking, kayaking, and good food. Welcome back, Dr. Holthouse.
Thank you. And
Thanks
maybe
so
kite surfing in the future.
I was actually going to make fun of you, like body surfing, bodyboarding. Oh, yeah. We'll
No, glad to be here. Thanks, Amber.
Thank you. We're here in Eagle, Idaho at our new Center for Optimal Health. And this evening we wanted to spend probably more time than not discussing Precision Age Reversal, a program that we just launched 7 days ago here in Eagle. And I know it's really like I can't even speak to how excited you are. I want you to be able to speak to that. Just your vision for this has been a long time coming. Mm-hmm. It's been a lot of hard work and dreaming and scratching notes and whiteboard sessions, and I love it. It's taken a lot, but we're here and we're launching this really exciting program. So tell us what it is and how it came to be.
Yeah. So this is really acknowledging age as a disease of its own, as the number one risk factor for what's killing most of us in this country. Whether it's heart disease, whether it's diabetes, whether it's bone loss, dementia, arthritis, we know that cells age. And we now understand a lot of, they call them the 9 hallmarks of aging at a cell level. As some people have added 10, even there's books now that have an 11th. But it's really acknowledging that with technology and advances, with testing and genetics, and being able to analyze some of the things at a cell level, protein level, metabolomic level, what's happening, what's your cell actually doing, we can now measure a person's age. You can look at vascular age in your vessels and tell how old you are. So your birth certificate is going to mean less and less with this new era, what your chronologic age. And so that's going to throw a real monkey wrench into age of retirement and insurance and a lot of things in our culture. As health span, our biologic age takes the place of just looking at lifespan. I'm excited about this, though, because these chronic diseases are what I'm dedicating my life to. I don't work in the ER, urgent cares, ICUs anymore. That was the first part of my career. And I was just utterly depressed at the revolving door of the same 5 or 6 diseases, and often the same 100 people in my small community that we saw, where nothing was being done differently, and yet we were expecting a different outcome. Right. Definition of insanity, right? So fast forward 17 years of integrative care, this I see for the first time as a way to, it's an advanced operating system, if you will, on how to organize chronic diseases like this and have a measurable, for the first time, right? SMART goals, measurable, and all those things. That's the M of SMART. My nursing friends tell me because they love SMART goals. Objective way, when you enter the program, this program we're talking about tonight in particular is a year-long program, and then repeat several of those same markers of age, whether they're genetic, biologic age markers, whether they're lab tests, whether they're imaging tests, and then do it again at the end of the year. And after doing these interventions, being able to prove to people, hey, we moved the needle.
Before and after.
You are younger, and here's how we can prove it. Don't just take my advice and my word for it anymore. So I guess that's why it's a conglomeration of how to get at all these diseases, really root of the root, as far as cause upstream. It's like the ultimate upstream medicine.
Yes, it is.
And it's something that you can now measure. So people that are skeptics, my engineers, my CEOs that want to see the data, love those guys and women. They come in now and they can see it. And they're your best evangelists when they see these results. So this is what this program is about. Part one.
Let's take a step back. Precision medicine. We talk a lot about how functional and integrative medicine have been on the, we have been talked about for a long time now, several years, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Why is precision medicine kind of the new buzzword?
Yeah. So precision is just that. It's a precise, objective measurement as opposed to more of a subjective, I think I feel better since you started
My brain
doing
fog
whatever.
is better.
My brain fog is better. My gut bloating is better. My bowel movements are what have you. My kids' behavior is less ping-ponging off the walls, which those are great observations. To have those things, though, now coupled with hard, actual analytes that you can measure, you can now measure the burden of zombie cells, these senescent cells that check out because they've got problems with their DNA.
Why do we care about zombie cells?
So zombie cells are big. Zombie cells are basically cells that have stopped dividing, and they stopped dividing permanently. It was really a protective mechanism originally to stop people in their 30s and 40s from getting cancers. What would happen is the cell would sense that there's a break in the DNA. We have a problem with the shortening of the DNA, and it exposes the DNA. The histones are no longer there, these little proteins that protect our double helix. And the telomerase activity drops off, and the body senses this, and something called sirtuin, which splices damaged DNA and repairs it, gloms onto these areas of damage where there's shortening, and it stops the cell from replicating. This was a protective mechanism for cancers. When you have this happen, and you can have a chromosome then attaching to some other random piece of DNA, this is how cancers occur. And so it was thought to be an advantage to halt these kinds of cells and prevent early tumors in our third and fourth decade of life. The problem is now that as we're living longer and we're living well beyond our reproductive ages of 30 and 40s, we develop and accumulate these masses of senescent non-dividing cells, which are secreting inflammatory cytokines and molecules that tell the healthy cells, the stem cells, to go and become zombies as well. And so this ages our organs, our macules of the eye, the retina. The eye is where a lot of this stuff is being studied. The optic nerve, again, initially in yeast cells, then in nematodes and worms, Drosophila, fruit flies, and then in things like mice, rodents. And it's these ancient pathways that seem to be conserved across multiple species that are consistently being found in different cell types, tissue types, and organs as a root cause for not working very well. So zombie cells started off as maybe a good idea from a cell biology evolutionary perspective initially, but as we've started to live longer, it's become more of a liability. And now we've got the ability to measure that, and there's a bunch of stuff you can do with different types of agents, which have different names. Yeah,
it's interesting. I think this whole anti-aging longevity arena that we're living in and everyone's talking about, we talk a lot about the preventable diseases like osteoporosis, cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, Alzheimer's, dementia. We don't talk a lot about these things being anti-cancer.
Right.
It's not as big of a focus for some reason, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
So do you think you would be bold enough to say this precision age reversal program is anti-cancer?
I mean, absolutely. We're always careful to say we're not going to cure cancer, we can't reverse cancer, or I'll be canceled and defrocked of my license within a week. And honestly, we don't have that kind of data to show randomized, double-blinded, placebo-controlled trials yet. We've got plenty of evidence that is shown. For example, I'll pick metformin as a pharmaceutical. Metformin is a drug that developed in the 60s. Originally, it's developed basically from the idea of the French lilac flower that's high in something called guanidine. And these guanides have been altered to basically help upregulate some of these ancient longevity pathways. Now, they were patented as diabetic drugs because they also do some wonderful things as far as improving insulin sensitivity and lowering glucose. It's the first drug usually that a type 2 diabetic gets put on. There's a lot of folks using this stuff, however, now because of its anti-aging and what it does for mitochondria and this AMP kinase pathway in sirtuins. But metformin is just one example of how you can follow these pathways. There are so many other things in the natural world that do the same thing, and they act in similar ways. Yeah. So the medications are not 100%. They are not always clean. Whenever you block an enzyme or a receptor, there's always something to pay. And I think the wonderful thing is that when you look at the way that these different pathways work, and they can hit them from a multi-mechanistic angle, along with intermittent fasting, along with high-intensity interval training and strength training and good sleep and the right food, they have these synergistic effects.
I forgot to mention at the beginning of the podcast, we're here doing our second ever live podcast where we have members of the audience that are texting questions. So I'll just kind of dig into a couple of these. This was interesting. Where do you start with care if you're generally in good health and you don't really have symptoms? I guess as it relates to what we're talking about, age reversal, anti-aging.
Yeah, I think that is a wonderful question because it speaks to the paradigm shift, right? If you're waiting to have something physically wrong with you, traditional medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine believes homeopathic medicine, by the time you have physical symptoms, you're well into a problem and you're way down the line. Proactive care, which is preferentially where we get people in their 20s and 30s or even younger, they are coming in saying, I feel great. I'm not fatigued. I don't have any dysfunctions or diagnoses or medications. I just don't want to. I don't want to follow the default where everyone's
my dad
going.
became a type 2 diabetic at age 47. How do I not follow in his footsteps?
Right.
Or I've got family history of colon cancer.
You know who gets it? My financial advisors.
It's so true.
Right?
It's so true.
It's a 401k for your health. So if you don't plan, why do we all do that and make those deferrals from our W-2 income? Well, we understand if we don't have a plan, there will be nothing there at the end. But yet we don't do that with our bodies. We do it with our cars. We have scheduled maintenance that's preventive. We don't wait till we're on the side of the road, broken down, preferentially, before we start thinking about our cars. And yet we completely disregard that with our own bodies and our own health. We'll spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 on a vehicle 4, 5, 6 times in our lifetime, and yet we won't spend a quarter of that for a year to learn intense information that can be life-changing, life-altering once on ourselves. So again, precision medicine looking at you from multiple aspects, indulging yourself to spend a little bit of money over a year once to know what you can do to change the trajectory of the rest of your life.
Mic drop. And on that, I think we can say that that's a good conclusion. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Functional Medicine Foundation's podcast. For more information on topics covered today, specialties available at the FMI Center for Supplements and more, go to funmedfoundations.com.